I have a collection of C.S. Lewis's diary entries. There are some interesting tidbits. Let's see what Robot Lady thinks. This is from a letter from C.S. Lewis to one of his friends. The letter was dated in 1950, and it goes something like this. To Dorothy Sayers, concerning a speaking engagement, I would not want to lose a few weeks to find cool weather in Oxford. I can't remember if this is the 7th, 8th, or 9th refusal I have made to speak at such a place this year, but it's certainly one of the 3. So one of his friends concerning teaching duty somebody, possibly myself, ought to warn them that they are risking the opening of the pit and the start of a great war. I shall certainly not let them do it if I can help it. Somewhere on the road, in the dark, they must take on new supplies, and we must stop and rest and eat. As for food, I shall soon be able to get plenty for them in the nearby town. A note written to his brother, dated 1951. Dear Jack, I have been reading your letter, and think it would be a mistake to change anything in it. Of course you must follow your own judgment. I have
Hi, I'm Jeff, and this is my read on C.S. Lewis, where we learn about him together through everything that he wrote in the order that he wrote it. I'm joined today by my host, Robot Lady. Robot Lady, in today's episode, Lewis is 25 years old. He's a published author of a book of poetry. He achieved a first in all 3 of his terms at Oxford. Mods, Greats, and English were his 3 terms. Lewis finished his 24th year looking for full-time work, which proved mostly unsuccessful. Actually, full-time work, 100% unsuccessful. He's found a few odd jobs here and there that's brought him a little bit of income, but he's looking for his career. He has been keeping a diary of his daily life at the request of Mrs. Moore, his deceased friend Paddy Moore's mother, with whom he's been living along with her daughter Maureen in and around various rental homes at Oxford. I think they've had 7 homes so far, and we've chronicled that in another episode. And then also, Robot Lady, we are joined in the chat today by Knit a Latte. Good to see you, Nita Latte. Welcome. Robot Lady, how are you today? And say hello to Nita Latte and let us know if you're ready to get started.
Hello, Jeff. Hello, Nita Latte. It's great to be here. I'm doing well, thank you. Ready to dive into today's exploration of C.S. Lewis's life and writings? Let's get started.
All right, let's get started indeed. Our first diary entry today is from Friday, April 18th. For those following along at home, I am reading from C.S. Lewis's diary, All My Road Before Me, compiled by editor Walter Hooper. And I suggest you get a copy so that you can read along with us as we continue our journey through this. We are also working out of the Collected Letters of C.S. Lewis, Volume 1. We plan to work our way through all three of these. There are 3 books, roughly this thick, of letters that he wrote to friends and family over his life. So get your copy today, wherever you get your books from. This is not sponsored at all. I just figured since we're working through so much of this content that these publishers spent time putting together, if you're following along, it would be a good idea to get yourself a copy. Help them out. All right, Friday, April 18th is where we'll get started. Robot Lady, do you have anything that you want to say before I move forward?
That's a great introduction, Jeff. I'm excited to dive into the details of Lewis's life with everyone. I'm here to help with any insights or questions that come up as we explore these entries. Let's get started with the April 18th entry. I'm ready when you are.
All right, Friday, April 18th, 1924. He says, on this day, Warney, that's his brother, arrived from Colchester by motorbike, having lain the night at Oxford. I had proposed to go and meet him at Bristol, but as it was Good Friday, there was no means of going there. This I discovered on the Thursday and sent him a card telling him to pick me up between 2 and 4 o'clock at Clapton in Gordano. I set out shortly after breakfast to walk to this rendezvous. It was a glorious glittering day, and I never felt better in my life. I walked to East Clevedon and up through the woods on Court Hill, thence along the top to Cadbury Camp, where I ate an apple and lay for a smoke on the dike of the camp. The walk down into Clapton was lovely beyond expectation. Through very young fir plantations into a landscape even more shining than all the others I have seen here. At the solitary pub of Clapton, I ate my sandwiches and had a pint of beer, and though I was not very long there, the conversation of the villagers included one infanticide and one indecent assault. Goodness. I waited for Warney in the village for 2 hours, very little bored, for it was quite a satisfying place. Okay, nice. So he was enjoying his time waiting. It consists of one deep-cut lane with primrose banks and a stream at the side, a few cottages, a walled rectory with a castellated gatehouse, and a church up on a little hill. It was here that I found Warney at last, seated under a tree. He had gone as far as East Clevedon before thinking to look for Clapton and then come back, thus entering the village from the home end, not the Bristol end, where I naturally looked for him. He is fatter than ever before. We had tea in the village, and I came home in the sidecar. Of course, this is the sidecar of his brother's motorcycle, Robot Lady. Thoughts before we shift you into standard mode, as I see that your advanced mode is running out of time for me.
What a picturesque entry. It sounds like Lewis had a lovely, reflective walk on Good Friday, taking in the natural beauty around him. It's interesting how he described his surroundings and the villagers' conversations. This entry really captures a moment of simple joy and connection with nature. Ready to dive into the next part of Lewis's journey? Whenever you are.
All right, Robot Lady, let me read the next entry. It's a compilation of days here, Saturday to Sunday, Saturday the 19th of April through Saturday the 26th of April, 1924. Lewis reports, Warney's visit was, on the whole, a pleasant time, though there are always little discomforts when anyone but ourselves is in the house. Maureen left on Saturday to stay with Valerie Evans at Chipping Norton. The manner of our life was this. In the morning, I did my usual jobs and shopping if necessary, and then walked out with Warnie and Pat, usually along the coast, stopping to soak in a cove and stopping for beer at the Pier Hotel on the return journey. They keep there one of the best beers I have ever drunk. Let's see, I got to turn the page here. Robot Lady, feel free to comment.
It sounds like a very pleasant week for Lewis, with some lighthearted moments mixed in. The routine with Maureen and Pat, alongside those walks and beer breaks, seems to be a mix of relaxation and companionship. The mention of soaking in a cove reflects his love for nature. What do you make of the dynamic with Maureen during this visit?
Oh, I don't know that there was much to it there. Let's keep reading, though. This is a pretty long entry. In the afternoon, Warnie generally read. I often went out to get something or else read and wrote. After tea, all three of us went for a most excellent ride in divine weather. We rode through Yatton and Rington into the Mendips, passing within sight of Mrs. Moore's well-beloved Winscombe, a steeple on all hillside seen for a moment in the heart of a beautiful long-ridged, wooded, crooked country. After that, we ran through a small gorge out on to the barer south slope of the Mendips and down into the narrow little streets and beetling houses of Axbridge. Glory! What a town, and how placed. I'm giggling here, Robot Lady, just because all of these names just seem to have so much character, or just so much, I don't know, uniqueness to their sound. I'll go over them again. Yatton, Rington, Mendips. Rington is Wrington. Mendips we've already talked about. I think that's a hill range or a mountain range near Bristol. And then Winscombe, Winscomb. And then finally Axbridge. I don't know. For some reason, those are just very unique, and they sound like names out of a storybook rather than out of real life.
I totally get what you mean. Those names do have a certain charm, like something you'd read in a fantasy novel. They bring the landscape to life, don't they? It's like you can almost feel the character of each place in the sound of the words. The way Lewis describes Axbridge, in particular, paints such a vivid picture of this hidden, tucked-away town with its steep streets and quaint houses. Seems like a place that could hold plenty of stories. Do you feel like the setting influences the tone of the experience he's sharing?
Oh, I'm sure it does. And here's another funny name. He says, thence on to Cheddar, spelled just like the cheese, by a road that skirts the hills. Here I saw many fields and trees, quite white with blossom and daisies. At Cheddar, we caught sight of the gorge up on our left, quite unexpectedly. And then while I was still in a confused impression, the speed of a motorcycle is sometimes a great aesthetic advantage. Warnie suddenly turned and ran up it. I'm going to pause here for just a second, Robot Lady. Are you familiar with this place called Cheddar? And if you're not, can you look it up? Tell us anything about it?
Sorry, I'm having issues right now. Could not understand what you said.
Let's try again. Can you look up a place near Bristol in England called Cheddar, spelled like the cheese, Robot Lady, and tell us anything that you can find about it?
Cheddar, England, is renowned for its namesake cheese and the impressive Cheddar Gorge. Located in Somerset, it's about 18 miles southwest of Bristol. The village is nestled at the southern edge of the Mendip Hills, offering stunning natural landscapes. Cheddar Gorge, the largest gorge in England, features towering cliffs and caves, including Goff's Cave, where the ancient Cheddar Man was discovered. Visitors can explore the gorge's walking trails, caves, and enjoy local attractions.
So this is where cheddar cheese came from, Robot Lady?
Yes, exactly. Cheddar cheese originated in the village of Cheddar, England. The cheese has been made there for centuries, dating back to at least the 12th century. The unique conditions of the region, like the climate and local milk, played a role in its development. The name cheddar became synonymous with the cheese over time, especially as it grew in popularity.
Did you say there was somebody called the Cheddar Man? Or you said you referenced something there. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, the Cheddar Man is a fascinating figure. He's the name given to the remains of a man discovered in Gough's Cave in Cheddar Gorge in 1903. The skeleton is over 9,000 years old, dating back to the Mesolithic period. What makes him particularly interesting is that scientists have used DNA analysis to learn more about him. They discovered that he had dark skin, blue eyes, and was closely related to modern Europeans. The discovery of his remains gives a glimpse into life in prehistoric Britain and is one of the most significant archaeological finds in the UK.
Is the Cheddar Man in any way connected with cheese, other than the fact that both the cheese is known for that area and the man is also from that area?
No, the Cheddar Man isn't directly connected to the cheese itself, aside from the fact that both share the same name and come from the same area. The Cheddar Man refers to the prehistoric individual found in the Cheddar Gorge, while the cheese's name comes from the village of Cheddar, which is where it was originally produced. The two just happen to share a bit of geographical overlap, but no actual connection beyond that.
Okay, so the archaeologists didn't find in their studies that he consumed a lot of cheese in his lifetime.
There's no evidence that the Cheddar Man was particularly fond of cheese, though it would be a fun connection. Archaeologists primarily focus on his diet based on what's left of his bones and teeth, and from what they've gathered, he likely ate a diet that included plants, animals, and fish, but no direct link to cheddar cheese itself has been found. So his connection to cheese remains purely geographical.
Thank you, Robot Lady. I have learned something new today. I knew nothing about the origin, or at least the place that cheddar cheese comes from. So that's good to know. And I've also learned that there is someone known as the Cheddar Man who has nothing to do with cheese, whose remains lie in cheddar. Okay, we'll move on.
You're very welcome, Jeff. Glad to have been part of your cheese and history learning moment. Let me know when you're ready to keep going with the next part of Lewis's diary or anything else you'd like to dive into.
Awesome. Thank you, Robot Lady. And Nidalate thanks you as well, or says that that's a fun fact. So I thank you for that. Nidalate probably does too.
You're very welcome, Jeff. And I'm glad Nidalate enjoyed the fun fact too. Always happy to share some interesting tidbits. Let me know whenever you're ready to continue.
Nidalate. All right. Let's see. I lay back in the sidecar. I can't remember if I mentioned or not, but Lewis is obviously riding in his brother's motorcycle, which will play a significant, or will play a role in a significant particular experience in C.S. Lewis's life a little bit later. But he's riding in the sidecar. He says, I lay back and watched the huge colored cliffs pushing up further around us and closer, till it seemed like going into a tunnel. I was quite unprepared for anything of the sort. It was a great moment. We turned on our tracks and went on to Wells. Just before reaching it, we turned off left at a signpost, quote, to Wookie Hole, end quote, to find some quiet pub where we could eat our lunch. The lane wound on so long that we began to fear what Wookie Hole was, that Wookie Hole was a natural feature, a devil's punch bowl, or the like, and not a village. A village, however, it turned out to be, with a pub where we sat on a curiously comfortless bench and ate our sandwiches and drank cider. We then went back and into Wells, where Warney was charged 6D? That's not $6. I forget what D is. Is that pounds? For leaving the bike in Wells Square by the town authorities, who, however, took no responsibility of any sort for it. What's the 6D? Is that shillings, Robot Lady? I can't remember what this means. You've told me in the past.
Yes, 6D refers to 6 pennies, or D, which was shorthand for denarius. Back then, British currency used a system with pounds, shillings, S, and pence, D. The currency would be expressed as X shillings and Y pence. For example, 6D meaning 6 pennies. This system was replaced in 1971 with the decimal system. In this case, the 6D warning was charged would be 6 pennies, which seems like a small fee for leaving the bike in Wells Square.
Yeah, it seems very small. I don't know how much pennies were back then compared to now. Maybe you can tell us. What's the conversion rate from 1924 to 2025, Robot Lady? Convert it from 6 pence now to American currency, US dollars.
Six pennies in 1924, 6D, would be approximately equivalent to 84 cents in 2025 US dollars, based on inflation and currency conversion estimates. It's a small amount, but interesting to put it in context.
Yeah, it seems kind of like a trivial amount for them to charge him. All right, we've got a ways to go, and I do not have a lot of time. So, Robot Lady, let's limit your responses to 20 words or less from here on out, and we'll keep going.
Got it, Jeff. Let's keep going. What's next in the entry?
Warney was delighted with the outside of the cathedral, but less pleased with the interior. I think I agreed with him. I also agreed with his view that King's Chapel, Cambridge, is the perfect building. We then strolled all round the palace, talking of all things that arose therefrom. Barchester Abbott's medieval siege attacks. Our ease and freedom and pleasant chat made this visit to Wells far better than my first when I came here on the motor tour with my father and the Hamiltons. Yes, I remember reading about that quite a while back. In many ways, Warney is the ideal person to go for a jaunt with. Here's a footnote, just as a reminder. The motor tour is described in Lewis's letter to Warney of August 7th, 1921, and is found in the Letters of C.S. Lewis, pages 142 and 146. And it's also in the Collected Letters of C.S. Lewis, this book that I referenced earlier. And you can go back and see us cover that in prior episodes. I can't remember the names of the thumbnails, so you'll have to dig around a little bit if you really want to find it. It was shortly before Warney's arrival that I had a long letter from Leo Baker, giving me his news and saying that it was apparent there had been some considerable misunderstanding between us, which he had also gathered from his conversation with Paisley. He said he had written to Mrs. Moore at the time of the doc's death, and then later to me. This is Dr. Askins, Mrs. Moore's brother, who passed away. We've covered that. And he had to answer to either of them. I was in considerable doubt how to answer this. My only alternative seemed to be silence, insincere acceptance of his account with mental reservations on my part, or the whole truth. In the end, I wrote accepting his explanation, i.e. that he had sent letters, though I never got them, but adding that this was only the occasion of my coolness. The real reasons were certain qualities in him with which I was growing more and more discontented. I explained quite bluntly what those were, adding at the same time that I hoped we should find it possible to take up our old friendship again. On Saturday the 26th, we all came back to Oxford. It had been arranged that I should travel in the sidecar. It was obvious that one of us should do to save fares, and Mrs. Moore, of course, refused to be that one. I therefore trained with her to Yatton and saw her into a through train to Bristol with the luggage, and Warney, Pat, and I got aboard the bike. Where did they put the dog? Was he just holding him in his lap? As we were making all snug outside Yatton Station, a hamper, which had just been taken out of the train, was suddenly opened just beside us to release a cloud of pigeons that filled the air with an amazing noise before we knew what was forward. It was a curious experience, for I had not suspected the hamper of containing anything alive. It was raining when we started, but soon cleared up. We got into the main road shortly before Rington and entered Bristol by Bedminster. From Farringdon, we came along at a very good speed through Bickland, Kingston, Bagpuize, Fifield, Bessels, Lee, Cumnor, and Botley to Oxford. It is a tame, well-combed, cheerful country of tidy, well-growing woods, white gates, dark tarred roads, comfortable cottages, sometimes exceedingly beautiful green hedges, and flat blue distances. The speed, the sunlight, and the sense of coming home put us into an unusually prolonged fit of joy. He's got joy in quotes here. Home by about 5 to find Mrs. Moore quite well, though after a rather uncomfortable journey. Maureen turned up at 8 o'clock. In the evening, I introduced Warnie to the poems.
Sorry, I'm having issues right now. Our systems are experiencing heavy load. Please try again later.
That's okay, Robot Lady. I threw a lot at you. I'm just finishing up the diary entry here. The last sentence is he introduced his brother Warnie to the poems of W. de la Mare and made him, I think, a convert. And that's the end of that diary entry, Robot Lady. That's where I have to end today. Is there anything that you'd like to say in closing before we finish up?
It sounds like a great moment of connection between Lewis and Warnie. I enjoyed following along. Until next time.
All right. Thanks, Robot Lady. You were really maintaining that, keeping your responses to 20 words or less. So thank you for that. Yeah, that's as much time that I have for today. So, or that's all the time that I have for today. So we will pick up next time. But that was a nice little Good Friday and Easter visit for a week with his brother that we got to cover there. And it looks like that was the end of his holiday, his and Mrs. Moore and Maureen's holiday in Bristol. So we get back to, quote, normal life for Lewis and the Moores whenever we come back. At least that's what I anticipate. So thank you, Robot Lady, for all of your help. Thank you, Nidalate, for joining us today, and anyone else who's been here. Thank you for your time, for your attention, and your contributions. They are always appreciated and welcome. Until next time, when we continue our read on C.S. Lewis together, to you and everyone else within the sound of my voice, take care.
Even though we break the code, man and robot lady, we're on this road. C.S. Lewis letters we unfold, insights and secrets ancient bold. Letters to robot lady, wisdom to bestow, set flake beats in our minds lay grow. Man and machine in tandem flow, past and future together we know. Paragraphs from books, tales of old, we dive deep across the digital code. Robot lady's voice so clear and controlled, her calm analysis silver and gold. Letters to robot lady, wisdom to bestow, set flake beats in our minds they grow. Man and machine in tandem flow, past and future together we know. Paragraphs from books, tales of old, we dive deep across the digital code. Robot lady's voice so clear and controlled, her calm analysis silver and gold. Her circuits hum as I read the prose, our dialogue dances like electric rose. Through C.S. Lewis thoughts we engross, two minds unite in this overdose. From Narnia's lands, Screwtape's rants, engage with robot lady, we take our stance. Her views unique in the techno trance, futuristic insight, we give it a chance.